we are visiting my favorite Tamil store in downtown Toronto, Ambal Trading. I'm here for the holidays and I'm staying with my friend Laura, and tonight I am making a Tamil feast, a traditional Friday night Tamil dinner, vegetarian.
Where are you eating this vegetarian?
At her house. Yeah. Thanks. Vegetarian food requires vegetables. And my favorite part about doing this is coming to the grocery store and just seeing what's available, what fresh produce is available. There's often stuff here that you don't find in Western supermarkets, so let's look. Oh, so these little red onions, these are onions that they have a different flavor than the large onions that you would find at a normal supermarket. These small ones are what traditionally they use in Sri Lanka. These ones, or like these tiny ones right here. And I don't know who's sitting and peeling all of them, usually the grandmother in a house, but like the curries taste different when you use those onions or these ones. So the sorts of things that you find here that you wouldn't find at every generic supermarket are things like these. These are the drumsticks, and we cut these up and make this into a curry. There are a few different ways of making this. There's like a green curry, but there's a brown curry that could be made out of these. Very, very delicious. I only know the Tamil words for these things, so I'm sure you'll help me in the comments. This is murungaka, and this is a certain kind of pavaka, a bitter gourd, I think is what this is in English. And then vendika is okra. I know the word for this. And okra made into a curry, I think that's what we're going to cook tonight. When I'm making a vegetarian spread on a Friday night, there's always something green that I make, and then I make a brown curry, and I'll explain that when we're cooking this, and then a few raw things. And I'm looking in the fridge now and I'm seeing pumpkin. This is a certain type of pumpkin. It's just delicious. So I'm gonna get some pumpkin, and I think I'll also get some yard-long beans. These very long beans. So tasty. And then a staple, curry leaves. We need curry leaves. So when I'm in New York and I go to Lexington Avenue in Manhattan to buy curry leaves, I get only 2 tiny thin stems with a few dinky curry leaves on them for $3.99. And it's like highway robbery. And then I come here and this is like $1. And this is the way it should be. So this always makes me so excited to come back here. And then the other thing that we need for every curry are green chilies, fresh green chilies. So I'm gonna get them here. Hot or mild? Mild. Okay. So these are the green chilies that are hot. Maybe a few. Konjam. And then for Laura, because she's just a poor little white girl, she can't eat this hot food. We gotta get the mild. Let's get the mild chilies. These ones are milder, they're not as hot. Just get a few of those. And so these really go in everything. And then we do need some garlic. Garlic will go in everything. And in every curry, when the curry is finished cooking, the traditional thing that makes it taste so good is a little bit of very thick coconut milk. And you can get coconut milk or coconut cream in a can, which I sometimes do, but when there are fresh coconuts, which in Manhattan, like on the Upper West Side, these are impossible to find now. Uptown, they're available, but making fresh coconut milk just changes everything. So I'm gonna get a couple of coconuts, which Laura has agreed to scrape. so do you know how to check if coconut's good? Is you shake, and hearing a lot of water is very important. So I usually start by what's heavy, because that's an indication of a lot of water, and like this one's very light, so I would put that back. This feels very heavy. That's good too. Nalatanga. And then we need ginger. Ginger. That's good. Well, that basket is full of vegetables, so I'm going to start another one and take you through the aisles of dried goods and spices, because we need a bunch of those things. And this is what I always find fun when I come back to Toronto, because there's so much that's here that just is not available easily in Manhattan. Because a lot of the stores in Manhattan, they carry Indian things, but this is a Sri Lankan grocery store. So there are some things in here that I just can't find in New York. I love Marmite. Marmite is something that my mom has been giving me and my sister since we were kids, because it was a British thing. Ceylon was occupied by the British. Marmite's a thing. Some people don't like it. I do. Okay. Sago seeds. So these tapioca pearls, that's what these are. These are used to make a very traditional dessert called payasam, where this is cooked in water till they swell up, and then condensed milk is added, and cardamom pods. Cardamom is the flavor of this. It's like a rice pudding-y kind of dessert. I love payasam. It's traditionally what's served at every wedding as dessert, with some roasted cashews and raisins in it. Delicious. So good. And then we're going to make dal at home, and I do have a video about dal. We have dal at home, so I don't need to buy dal. But if I was buying dal, so here's the thing, this whole shelf is full of all different kinds of lentils and beans, and up here there's all different kinds of dal. There's this, which is called tur dal, or in Tamil it would be tuvaram paruppu. And this is like an oiled dal that needs to be washed and soaked and cooked for much longer. If you were making sambar, which is another kind of lentil dish, tur dal is really nice in that. But when I'm making paruppu at home, or just normal Sri Lankan style dal, I use this Mysore dal, the red split lentils, which are very quick to cook and delicious. This is my absolute favorite kind of food. It's so good. I mean, my mouth's watering even just walking through these aisles. Okay, let's go to this one. I am looking for the little condiment things that we're going to be eating with the rice and the curries. Here we go. Found it. Okay, so we need I don't know what these are called. It's mormolaha, salt chili it says, but it's a pepper that has been, I think, soaked in salt water and then dried, and these get deep fried, and they're kind of like a crispy they turn like dark brown, and they're crunchy, and it's eaten like on the side when you're having your feast. So we need some of these, and then is it this one? Yeah, it's this. Sometimes it's confusing because they look the same, but these are very different. These are just dried green chilies, and I've made the mistake before of buying these, and then I fried them and it wasn't working. It's the salted ones that you want. Okay, so those salted chilies, and then I need papadum. Most of you probably know what papadum is. So when you go to some of these Indian restaurants, they serve like papadum as an appetizer, which is that's for tourists. That's not real. Papadum is like a thing you eat with the rice and the curries. You don't just eat it by itself at the beginning of the meal. Do we have chili powder at home? So the best chili powder, I have a video on my channel on how to make chili powder at home. But the best brand of chili powder is this one right here. It's King's chili powder, and it comes from Sri Lanka, and it is so good. So even in the store, there are 3 different kinds. There's King's, there's Leela, there's Niru. I really like, Niru would be what I would get if this wasn't available, because this is Jaffna style powder, but it's actually made here. This comes from Sri Lanka, and I just, I don't find it often. And it comes in 2 sizes. This is the big one, but I'm gonna ask if there's a small one.
Just get that one.
You sure?
Yeah.
Okay, it's so good. So if you're in Toronto, come to the store if you want to make any of this stuff and get the King's chili powder. And you know the other thing about all this stuff? It's cheap. Okay, papadum. Papadum, I found it. So this is also what excites me about being here. I need papadum. There's like 7 different kinds to choose from. So I choose my papadum the way I would buy red wine. The label. What's pretty? And I look for the papadum that has a Hindu god on it. Lakshmi or Pillayar. And this is Sri Ganesh Ram's papadum. So that one. Is there sometimes there's a Lakshmi papadum, but there's no Lakshmi papadum in here. It's only Ganesh. Okay, so papadum. And then this is actually my favorite thing about Tamil food. This is called Vadagam. And Vadagam is made from the flower of the Neem plant. And Neem, you might have heard of neem oil that's used as a natural insecticide on houseplants. If you have aphids or any kinds of bugs on your plants inside, you spray it with neem oil. It's a natural antiseptic kind of thing. And just stay here because I'm going to run and get the neem leaves. So this this is not a great example, but these are neem leaves. And neem in Tamil is Verpam, and it's a very sacred plant. It's associated with the goddess Amman, the mother goddess. So these are made from the flower of this plant that are dried with lentils ground up into a paste and then dried out in the sun, and this is how we get them when they're imported from Sri Lanka. And these get deep fried. They're very bitter, but they're so delicious. It's a very distinct flavor, and you just take a tiny bite each time you have a mouthful of rice and curry. The flour and the rice, and there are so many different kinds of rice varieties to choose from. There's red rice, there's white rice, there's all kinds of basmati, and like look at all the basmati rice bags here. But then there's all the flours, and in my video about how to make idiyappam, the steamed wheat flour and the roasted red rice flour I would buy from here. So for all of you who are interested in making idiyappam, you could also get the tools for making idiyappam here. And a lot of people asked about that. Where would I find those tools? Just come here and ask the gentleman at the front for idiyappam or string hopper tools like the press, and he'll show them to you. The flours for those things are in this section over here, and let me find them for you. Oh, here. So here's the red rice. This is what the rice looks like before it's roasted and ground into a flour. That's the actual rice, which we use for cooking as well. It's a very distinct flavor. Jaggery. Jaggery is palm sugar, I think. It's like the natural brown sugar that we would use in Sri Lanka that comes from the palm tree. It's kind of like maple syrup. This would be like maple sugar, but from the trees that grow over there. And I want to find this avicha pacha mavu. Here's the red rice flour, roasted rice flour, and it's pink. But this is the flour. There's the string hoppers, and there's pittu, which I'll show you how to make in the future. So I would get this, and then I would mix this with the steamed wheat flour. I want to find it. I think it's here. Here it is. Found it. Okay, so this is what it looks like. It just looks like white flour, but it says steamed flour. This is not easy to find. You would not find this on the Lexington Avenue in those Indian stores. They just don't have it. So this is what I buy, the 10-pound bag. Other people are taking like clothes and shoes back. I'm carrying avicha pacha mavu back to Manhattan, as one does. Yeah. And then all the other flours, like if you want to make chapati or roti, like Indian style, the flour is called atta. It's like a whole wheat flour, and these are all the bags of those flours. I just love this place. It's great. Spices. The spices that I would use for almost all the curries: turmeric, like ground turmeric, cumin seeds, and usually you can get like small packets if you don't want to buy these big packets. Cumin seeds, we need cumin seeds. Fenugreek seeds. These are fenugreek. This is something that some people might not use or know about. We need black mustard seeds. Mustard seeds. Mustard seeds. We need some of those. And I think that's it. Spices. Essential. Yeah. One last thing, which is also not easy to find, not easy for me to find in Manhattan, is tamarind paste, but tamarind that comes like this, where it's just tamarind fruit and salt packed into a kind of cake, and this is soft. It's not in a toothpaste tube where it's overly refined and strained, because that's what I found in Manhattan. This has the seeds in it. It's very raw. It's very close to what it is like when it comes right out of the pods. And if you have access to actual fresh tamarind fruit, use that. You use the pulp in the curries. So I need to get one of these. And then, I'm just seeing this stuff now. So one of the other things that's a condiment that's very traditional with Sri Lankan food is lime pickle, which I make myself. So I have that in New York, but I'm going to buy a jar of it. And I wonder if they have King's lime pickle, because if they don't, then the other brand I like is Niru. Let's see. Kata sambar? Kata sambar ta vela. Garlic pickle? Here. Look, here's the lime pickle. Yum. Now I'm hungry. So let's go home, start cooking.
These one little expensive, other one little cheaper.
I like the King's. Yeah, thank you. So we're at the beginning of cooking Friday night dinner, traditional vegetarian meal. This is what it was like when I was growing up. Friday was the night when my mom or my mom and dad would cook rice and all kinds of vegetable curries, papadum, vadagam. I am cutting up some things that are going to actually go into the oven. So traditionally, the curry that I'm making right now, the okra would be deep fried, but it's perfect to do it in the oven. Toss some oil around all the chopped up vegetables and then spread them out on cookie sheets and put those in the oven and roast them, and they come out like they're deep fried. So this is just cutting them up before the oil goes in. There's a story about one of my favorite old Tamil film actresses, Padmini. When she started learning how to cook, she asked like a relative, how long should she cut the drumsticks? The drumsticks that we saw in the temples are the long things. And they said, you cut it into like 2-inch pieces. So later the relative came over to her house to oversee how she was doing with making this curry. And she found Padmini in the kitchen with a ruler and a marker marking the drumstick with the marks. She was like, what do you do? She said, you said 2-inch pieces. It's like, Yeah, roughly. The great thing about cooking in Laura's kitchen is it feels kind of like mine because we have very similar things. Does anyone recognize this? This is the cutting board that Laura made 20 years ago at Pioneer Village that inspired me to make the same thing during the pandemic. And then we made cutting boards together. Does anybody recognize this? There's the cutting board that we made for HGTV, for the film, for the shoot with HGTV on how to make a wooden cutting board. Laura worked at Pioneer Village with me, and she also knows. Deborah worked at Pioneer Village. This is Deborah's dishcloth. This is what happens when we visit each other. We're kind of, even though I'm in New York and she's in Toronto, we're in very similar situations. It's good. Two coconuts ready to be scraped by the sous chef for making coconut milk. வான்மீதிலே இன்பத்தேன் மாறி பேயுதே வண்ணம் சேர்க்கலாமதே வேசுவெண்ணிலாவினே வான்மீதிலே வான்மீதிலே. So that is what's playing. We had to pause it because of copyrights. You want to get sued, boy? Okay, so update of what's happening. Pumpkin is going in here. The way that we cook the pumpkin is I sort of steam it in some water. This is how I was taught. And after it's cooked, then I add like sauteed onions and spices and curry leaves. That goes in afterwards. Look what happened to our okra. The okra that was cut up and so delicious. And that's going to be turned into a nice dark curry. And then our paitanga. The paitanga is cooking. Paitanga takes a long time to cook. The yard-long beans. It has to cook slowly, and this takes a long time. But this is what it looks like now. It's going to look very different. And then Laura's done her job, and she scraped all this beautiful coconut, which we're going to turn into coconut milk. So the pumpkin has just sort of had a bit of water in there, tiny bit, and I just covered it and cooked it with a little garlic. And now I sauteed onions, garlic, curry leaves, mustard seeds, cumin. And then this goes in here. So nice. And this is what I learned from certain relatives. Don't waste! So, கொஞ்சம் போட்டுட்டு இப்படி போட்டுட்டு இப்படி எல்லாம் எடுக்கலாம் எல்லாம் அள்ளி அள்ளி எடுக்கலாம். Then look at how nice that looks now. With the now, because see, the onions have to be fried, but when you're steaming the pumpkin, you can't fry it and steam it at the same time. And then look at this beautiful stuff, the coconut that Laura scraped. I'm going to take some of the creamy part off the top. This is fresh coconut cream. And that goes in there. Look how nice that looks.
So beautiful.
And then this is going to just cook a little bit. And that's done. That is the pumpkin. And without even trying to be this way, it's vegan. And these are the yard-long beans. The paitanga. Paitanga has been cooking for like 45 minutes. It still needs to cook. It gets kind of shriveled and it gets darker when it's done. You test it by biting into it. It should be soft. There should be no crunch. And I can tell just by looking at it though that it can keep going. Lovely. And then the pavaka is the bitter melon or bitter gourd or whatever it's called. It's the pavaka in Tamil. This is how it came out of the oven. Like, this is what it would look like if it was deep fried. I'm gonna make that into a kind of salad. Coming along, coming along. Okay, we have the vendika, the okra cooking. We have the paitanga, the yard-long beans, done. Look at how good that looks. A little bit of thick coconut cream mixed in there at the end. We have the pumpkin. And now, all we have to do is we're going to make the quick things. We're going to cook the rice, the perpu, the dal, and spinach. And then we're going to fry the papadums, and the vadagams, and the mormora, the chilies. Ahaya Pidil Alagana Vinnila Alankara Taragayodil Nasengundaladude Anandam Tedude Agaya Vidil Alagana Vinnila Oh. My sisters would say when we were growing up constantly, "Mom, make him stop singing," because I just have to sing. It's just in me. Okay, we are nearing the finish line. Woo. 4 hours of cooking,
At least.
So, this is the dal, the perpu. Everything has the coconut cream in it at the end. From the freshly grated coconut. There's the spinach, very quick. Onions, garlic, spinach. What else did I put in here? It just cooks down some lime juice at the very end. You can put cumin seeds in when you're sautéing. I should have done that. And here's our rice. Basmati rice with coconut milk as well, of course. Now the oil's heating up for the little things that we're going to fry. So this is what they look like. And a lot of my cousins, like when we were growing up, my sisters and I liked this, but my cousins hated this. They didn't like this. Do you not like it at all?
Not at all.
It's a very, like, acquired taste. I just love them. So be forewarned. If you try this, you might think, look, what is that? Papadum. Watch this. Okay, so this is the hot oil. It goes in. These are made of lentils. Lentils made into soaked, ground into a paste, and then spread out and dried in the sun in India. Gluten-free, vegan, all those things. Look at that.
Magic.
Oh, papadum. Okay. Watch it again, okay? Watch the oil. I'm gonna put it in. So fun.
So amazing.
Papadum is like one of the nicest parts. It's the nicest part of the vegetarian feast. It's like these extras that go on the side. Just a simple Friday night dinner for two.
1,000 dishes.
Yeah. So then I put in the vadagam. And because I'm the only one that's going to be eating these, I'm going to just make 4. These take a little bit of time to fry. They're not as quick as the papadum. And they turn they should turn almost black. And that's when you know they're done. The Vadagam. Oh, they're so nice. So the Vadagam, they're done. And the last thing that goes in the oil, and I actually turn the heat off because this will cook in just the remaining heat of the oil. These mormolahai. And look, see, those were light and dried, and now look how they're going to change.
Wow.
They puff up. They puff up, and they should get as black as this. And there's like, when you eat them, they're crunchy and there's salt on the inside because they've been soaked in a salt solution. Look at that.
Wow.
It's like magical foods.
It's amazing.
There. That's done. And I'm going to take these out, put them on the very corner of this platter. Some rice. Now, here on the table, what we have are all of the things we made today. A vegetarian meal. The pumpkin, the dal, the Mysore lentils, the pavaka. So what I did is, it was roasted, and then I mixed it with onions, tomatoes, lime juice, salt and black pepper. This is the okra curry, made with tamarind, chili powder, the paitanga, the yard-long beans, a carrot salad / sambal, spinach, lime pickle, papadum, molaka, the chilies, and vadagam. This is my favorite food to eat. Vegetarian Tamil food. That's what I love. Here at Laura's Place in Toronto for the holidays, Friday night dinner. From us to you.